Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Doug Leedy, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today, and then talk about what you're working on, some of these amazing programs you have to educate veterans around the world. So let's start with where you were born.
Okay, I was born in a little town in Ohio called Lima, Ohio. There's a small university there called Ohio Northern University. My dad was in law school there, and that's when I was born. A few months after that, he graduated, and we moved back to my hometown where I've lived all my life until 12 years ago, Wooster, Ohio. It's a town of about 25,000. It's famous only for one thing, and that is it was where Rubbermaid was founded, and the home office of Rubbermaid was there up until about 20 years ago, and they pulled out of town, and it was very traumatic.
Yeah.
But that's how I got started.
Wow. So in Worcester, is it Worcester?
Yes, Worcester.
Okay. What was your favorite thing about growing up there?
Well, it was a small town, but it wasn't a village. So it was big enough. There were some things to do. It was a great place to grow up, and it's a great town today.
Yeah.
It went through a tough time for about 10 years after that Rubbermaid thing.
Yeah.
But boy, it really bounced back. It's very unusual for a town that size, but they've got a very strong downtown. They did a great job of doing that. They also diversified their industry, and that made a big difference. That did help with the Rubbermaid thing. And then some other companies came in, a little bigger ones, and picked up the slack. And now it is one of the top economies of its size in the country. They've done a great job. And there's
and that's always refreshing when towns are able to do that, right? Company towns where the company leaves, it's just devastating. And then, and it doesn't surprise me that people in the Midwest, like places like Ohio, right, pick themselves up by their bootstraps and they figure out a way to turn this into a win. Takes time, but that's pretty cool. That says a lot about how they're made,
it's pretty much that Midwestern ethic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Well, I would have to say it was probably my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was a professional politician. He was a prosecuting attorney, which really isn't politics as much as it is law.
Yeah.
But he was a prosecuting attorney for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And then he was asked to run for the state Senate, and he got elected to the state Senate. And he had to resign partway through his second term for health reasons. Then he recovered from that, became a common pleas judge, and he passed away while he was common pleas judge. So he died at 58, and I'm 74, so I'm living on borrowed time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be 58 this year. Wow. So
didn't mean to depress you.
No, it's okay. No, I'm all right. I'm all right. So my grandfather lived to be 97, so we're good.
It's a roll of the dice, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a longevity thing, right? So good genes, So so in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Well, yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. Yes, I did. When I was in, I think, 6th grade, we went to Gettysburg. And I was captivated by the history at Gettysburg. And I couldn't wait to get to high school and get some history classes. And when I got to high school, I had the worst history and civics teachers that you could imagine. They were both older people on the way out, and just there was no fire there.
Wow.
Very disappointing. So then I went to college, and I decided that I wanted to coach and teach. I didn't know what I wanted to teach, but I was thinking history. And the same thing happened to me in college. I had an old fossil for a history professor, and he was also my advisor, who I met with once when I was in college. But it just turned me off.
Wow.
I never had that fire relit until my second semester of my senior year. And I had a great history professor, but by then it was too late.
Yeah. So where did you go to college?
Went to a small school. It was Ashland College in Ashland, Ohio, but it's now Ashland University.
Gotcha.
So not that it's much bigger, but it's a different name.
What was your major?
I majored in getting through college. I had a minor in beer, and that was my education. I was not
girls, minor in beer.
Yeah, I was not what you would call a serious student by any means, and I had no direction. I had no idea what I was going to do. But back in those days, education was different. If you got a college degree, you could do something. Didn't matter what it was in. It was just a matter of putting in the time and showing the discipline to get a degree.
Gotcha. So you graduate. So you graduate from college, from Ashland.
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
I moved back to my hometown because I was comfortable there. I liked it. As I say, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I found out I did my student teaching my senior year in college, and I found out I didn't have the patience to teach. So there I am, 4 years, and I'm SOL. So I got a job in the oil field driving a sand truck, and I did that for just about 6 months or so. And I thought, you know what, this isn't what I put 4 years in for.
Right.
So I got a job with a small government program as a counselor to kids who were working in school, just to get a taste of what work was like. They were not great students, but they were trying to get some direction. So I was what they would call a counselor, kind of an advisor for them. Did that for a couple of years, and I just didn't like working for the government. Bought a house in that time. And when I bought the house, I became intrigued with the process. And I thought, you know what, maybe being a realtor isn't a bad deal. And so I got my real estate license, and that's how I got started in real estate. I was about 27 years old at the time, and I looked like I was 15.
Yeah. Wow. So you get started in real estate at 27, and you've been in real estate ever since, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were in that town of Ohio up until, you said, about 12 years ago?
Yes.
So
and I moved.
Go ahead.
We moved to very spur of the moment. We moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I say that I'm on permanent senior spring break now. Never expected to do it, but I couldn't handle the weather. Wooster is 50 miles south of Cleveland. We still get Lake Erie effect, and you can go a month there and see the sun maybe 3 times, and it was depressing. And I was not built for winter. I was always kind of skinny, and I wasn't really built for winter. And Florida sounded awful nice, and we both retired, and boom, we moved. Just
beautiful.
Yeah.
So why did you pick Fort Lauderdale?
Well, I was here on spring break when I was in college. And I thought at the time, boy, it'd be nice to live in a place like that. But I never expected to leave Worcester. But my son moved down My son is a fine woodworker. He's got an associate's degree in fine woodworking, and he's got a bachelor's degree in technology.
Mhm.
And so he moved down here to work on boats.
Okay.
Never been on a boat in his life, but
Yeah.
down here to do it. And my wife retired before I did. So we went to visit my son in Texas,
Mhm.
and his daughter's birthdays are January 6th and 7th.
Oh, wow.
So we always went out there for New Year's and for the girl's birthday. So we decided, okay, Josh is in Fort Lauderdale, so we'll go to Fort Lauderdale for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So we did that. And that's a beautiful time of year here.
Yeah.
So we went out to my son in Texas, and then my wife drove down to Florida, and I flew back to Ohio.
Yeah.
So she's sending me pictures poolside with a cocktail and with the pool in the background, and I'm looking at 4-foot snowdrifts on my back porch.
Right.
Finally, I said, "Well, we're not going to do this anymore."
Right.
And we 6, 8 months later, we were in Florida that
Yeah.
quick.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome. I
the
love that.
real estate market wasn't great. I wasn't sure how long it would take to sell our house. I think it took about 3 weeks.
Oh, in
So
Ohio?
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yes. I was a realtor for about 15 years, and then I became an appraiser, and I was an appraiser for about 25 years. I started to invest when I first got my real estate license. And of course, I was young and dumb at the time. And my role, I had a partnership. I had a friend who was a painting contractor and one who was a plumbing contractor. It was a really nice partnership. But my role in the partnership was to be the landlord, and I hated being a landlord.
Oh.
So being young and dumb, I said, well, I'll never do this again. So I
Mhm.
got out, sold the properties, and that was probably the biggest mistake I made in my career. So that's
Yeah.
part of the motivation for what I do now.
Right.
I want realtors to understand how big the real estate industry is and how big that pie is. Real estate is probably, it's arguably anyway, the biggest wealth building industry in the world.
Yeah.
But so many realtors get in this and they get tunnel vision and they just have a small slice of that pie.
Yeah.
There's so much more for it. Everybody in real estate should be building their business and diversifying it so that they have some leveraged income coming in, they've got some real estate straight commission income coming in, they've got themselves protected, and man, they can build a heck of a future for themselves and their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah. I agree with that.
One of the things that really motivates me is I want my grandchildren, my great grandchildren to know who I was. You know, you want them to know who started the family real estate empire.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it can. That's the point. It can for everybody. They can do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to become more and more important. Who knows where this economy is going to head? I think AI is just going to have a tremendous influence on things. And it's going to be good in some ways, but boy, I see some problems too.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost a lot of jobs. I've talked to a lot of people who say, I don't know what my kids or my grandkids are going to do to make a living.
Mhm.
You know, jobs are disappearing, wages are deteriorating a little bit, but we're in an era of independent contractors. That
Mhm.
means you have your own one person business.
Mhm.
And that means you have control of your future.
Yeah.
People today don't want, they learned a lot from COVID.
Mhm.
They don't like going back to the office. They don't like the corporate structure. They don't like the discipline. They don't like being told what to wear and when to be there and how much vacation they can have. They
Mhm.
want a little more control than that. And
Yeah.
the independent contractor thing is perfect for that. And it fits perfectly into real estate.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, a big part of what we do, and I've been doing this for 32 years now, but a big part of what we do is educate. And I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but I worked with a gentleman that was part of a group of Marines that were leaving an air station up in Orange County, and they were coming down to San Diego. All of them were being moved down. And I was helping he and his wife buy their first house, and they were later in life, they were getting up there in terms of age and that kind of thing. And and they had rented and lived on base his entire career. So we're working on his first escrow, his first house. And I met him for breakfast to go over some paperwork. This is back when we did things with paper. Right. Met with him, went over a bunch of stuff. We were having breakfast, and he said, Mike, if I could get you in front of my people, I'd love to get you in front of my people. I said, well, how many people do you have? He said, 5. I said, well, set it up. I'll come talk to them, He said, they've got a million questions, Mike, and I've never bought a house before, so I don't know the answers. I don't know how to answer their questions. I said, set it up. He goes, you would come up here to my base to meet with my people. I said, yeah, set it up. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So I go up there when I'm supposed to. I drive up to the gate. He escorts me out of the base, tells me where to park. I get out of my truck, and he says, hey, before you go in there, remember there were going to be 5 people? I said, yeah. He said, there's 55 people in that room. Okay, what happened? He goes, well, word got out that you were coming. And he said, and 2 of the people in there are colonels. And he said, and everybody in that room works for them. And he said, and they're not happy with me right now because they're concerned that you're going to get up in front of these kids that work for them and make it sound like the DOD, the Department of the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Pentagon, the federal government, whoever has endorsed you, and these kids have to use you. I said, I won't hand out a business card. He goes, that should do it. So for the next 2 hours, all I do is teach. I don't talk about how to get a hold of me, none of that. I just pour into them, right?
Yep.
And at the end of it, I was showing them how to qualify for a VA home loan. And I said, I need a victim. I mean, a volunteer, right? And one of the colonels raised his hand. And he, in the beginning, he was looking at me. Both of them were looking at me with a sort of really angry look on their face. After 2 hours, they were actually happy with me. They were actually smiling at me and winking at me and the whole thing, right? And so one of them raised his hand. He goes, just use my numbers. None of the kids in here have any numbers you can use. So I use his numbers, and he doesn't qualify. He literally does not qualify, Doug, for what he wants to do. Wow. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. Nobody was even breathing. Okay. Yeah. And so what I told him was, I said, the bad news is you don't qualify. The good news is if you do this, this, and this, you'll be fine. Let me show you. So I showed him, showed everybody, right? And he was good to go. At the end of it, he walks me out and he says, you're going to be involved in every real estate deal that I do for the rest of my life. I cannot thank you enough for coming up here and pouring into my kids the way you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And really what this is about is it's about education. More realtors, and by the way, people that are in ancillary services too.
Yes.
More people don't know what they don't know about owning rental real estate. They don't know what they don't know about tax advantages. They don't know what, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
And so a big part of what we have to do is we have to educate them. And one of the things that I love the most about what you're doing is you're literally in the business of educating them. So
yes.
Talk about how you go about doing that.
Okay. It's a fascinating concept, I think. I think it's the best concept in real estate that I've seen. And I've been in it for almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even possible till about 10 years ago with this new technology that we have. Now we can reach places we couldn't before.
Yeah.
But I was in real estate all this time, and I didn't know anything about how you buy notes or how you buy tax liens. I did know about rental properties because I had them. But back then we didn't have management companies. So everything was on us. And that's what that's what discouraged me. It was such a pain to get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of winter with frozen pipes and so forth. Now management companies take care of that stuff.
Right.
But what we have is a concept of education, and we are not an accredited university. I guess I have some disclaimers to get out before we get into this too heavily. We are not an accredited school of any kind. But what we have is what we call, boy, now I'm getting a brain fart.
Okay.
Practitioner. We have practitioner instructors. These are people who every day work at what they teach. They're in the field, they're getting their hands dirty. They know what's going on that day and that week. So they're very current on things. And the company that I'm with is called Renatus, and Renatus encourages them to give out all their secrets. Tell everybody what you know. We want people to learn how to do these things. We have 82 different classes that we offer. And it's everything from how to set up and structure a business.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.